Been doing AI since the late 80s.
80s. Wow. I feel like I should have some more gray hair.
I've got plenty.
We've all seen these code builder tools, and they get better and better and better and better. 80%, you're going to have a mock-up at the end of the day.
Welcome to the very first episode of AI with Bri, the show where we are going to dive deep in how to learn, leverage, and lead with AI. I'm your host, Brian Denstead. I'm a technologist, strategist, and someone deeply curious about how AI is reshaping our lives and our work. Each week, we're going to be joined by a guest who makes waves in the AI space, and together, we're going to explore what they've learned, how they're applying it, and how they're bringing others along for the ride. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Todd Merrill to the show. Todd's a partner with me at TechCXO, and he's been doing some amazing, fascinating work. We were just talking briefly before he joined us live here, and all about how he's been doing AI since the late 80s. So welcome to the show, Todd. I'm so excited to speak with you and see what we can do to help others level up around AI. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, 80s. Wow. I feel like I should have some more gray hair.
I've got plenty here.
It's underneath the cans here.
Well, I want to jump into the first part of our conversation, the learning section, right? I mean, I feel like I can't even sleep because there's something new coming out with AI every 5 minutes. So talk to us just the past 7 days. What have some of the stuff that you've been learning, playing with, and geeking out with, and just your mind's been blown that really stood out to you?
Yeah. Great question. The MCP is the short answer to all that. And everybody, there's such a gold rush, which is maybe not a great phrase, but I mean, it's an explosion of little things where everybody's piling on, contributing in small and maybe not so small ways to the body of work that is AI. I think you talk to a lot of VCs, private equity, owners, operators, investors, and they're pushing it hard. As some of them get it, some of them don't get it, but they all know that there's some form of AI somewhere that's going to make a lot of things way more efficient. And I'm not sure I'm ready to go name an AI and put them in the org chart yet.
Yeah.
But that's the mentality, right? And then so there's this tremendous pressure from on high for executives, and then therefore directors, and therefore managers, to figure it out, right? And then so people who are on the front lines are having to figure this stuff out. So for me, we've, as software engineer background, right, we've had all these great tools forever, and we're kind of looking at each other going, what's the big deal here? We've had all this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Big unlock for me was, talking to some non-technical partners of ours in the sales and revenue marketing department. And the big unlock for me was now they have access to these tools potentially, because it's natural language and you can just talk to the computer and tell it what you want, because these people know what they want. They just don't know how to get it. And how, going from LLM to now reasoning and planning, and we've been talking about, planning, expert systems or planning has been a part of this. Timothy Leary in the 60s of LSD fame was also a renowned PhD computer science who actually started a lot of this AI stuff back in the day. So, we're still talking about expert systems. We're still talking about planning. You look at it like a model like, Claude, right? So that's one of my favorite geeky things to mess with now. There's LLM, and understands your language, figures out what you're talking about, can now go and plan things. And then now we're adding the concept of tools to Claude, right? And then so this MCP, model context protocol, is a way for different tools, the things that you know and love, like Stripe, or Google Docs, or Calendar, or Notion. You can now add these endpoints, much like us as software people. We had REST APIs. Every little SaaS startup had an open, shareable API, and then Swagger kind of came along, and that was a great way to describe these APIs in a way that other software people could then partner with you quickly. You give them a token, you meter it, right, and you make a little money. People could then compose these large SaaS systems. Okay, you still got to have $100,000 and a couple geeks in the garage
to
get that done. Now, with MCP, it's just, it's the same road, right? We're going a little bit farther down. What gets me excited about it is you can now it now self-describes that endpoint. There's probably a REST endpoint somewhere down the hole. But now it's a way for you to say, hey, I know about the following things. Ask me in natural language about the following types of problems. I provide the following kinds of services.
Yeah.
And then so a model like Claude can come in and go, okay, I have the following tools at my disposal. I might have a couple of deep research, web crawler things. I still have to compose a plan. I might go, look at some meeting notes. I might go review some emails from a particular client. I could pull all that stuff in, create a plan, think about it, maybe go do a little bit of web research myself, come back in, refine the plan, ask the user clarifying questions. What's important about this, or what's your background? It then goes out to LinkedIn and starts pulling stuff in from LinkedIn, even though you didn't tell it to.
Yeah.
Right. It figures it out, and then can compose these beautiful proposals, or it can automate, a workflow. It's just really amazing. And I think that, I had a fellow on, I have a podcast as well, Tales from the Sky Lounge. So big plug for that. But I get to talk to really cool people. So one of the guys I talked to recently was Jeff Haney. He's starting yet another company, Agent to a T. Typical Silicon Valley guy. He left Atlanta in 2008 because he had trouble getting funding and he just couldn't go fast enough. So he went out to Valley, one of those guys, right? Silicon Valley. His actual startup was on the introduction to Silicon Valley, that show, the cartoon animated. So he did good, and then so now he's in the good graces of Sequoia and Andreessen and all the big VC guys. Went out, raised $4 million, like I don't know, 12 weeks ago. 10 weeks ago, started coding, and then so now he's into infrastructure support for agent-based frameworks. And I think for me that was like, okay, what does that really mean? And I think the phrase that he said was, he founded Titanium at a time when the App Store was first getting started, and his concept was it's like React Native. But he invented like the underlying technology where you write in JavaScript, decompile, compile it down, and they put it, in the Play Store and the Apple Store. Mm-hmm. So he thinks there's going to be orders of magnitude more agents, like small little automations, than there ever were apps in the App Store. And if you think about it, now we have composability, now we have planning, now we have natural language, intent. We can talk to you in English, maybe not so much other languages, but we're getting there. Wow, what is that going to do fundamentally to most businesses? Your marketing department is going to be highly automated now. HubSpot is not going to be a UI. HubSpot's going to be mostly hit through an MCP interface, probably, or something like that. MCP seems to have one. That's why I'm geeking out on it.
But it's so fascinating because I feel like, the SaaS model is going to be we're going to go back to the database, and we can just as humans say, hey, talk to the database, get me this information. I mean, it's just, it's so fascinating because like a couple of points I want to pull out of what you said. Planning is the key to success on anything, right? I mean, like we know we have to turn the bolt on the spaceship rocket 17.5 times. Every single one has to be triple checked to land it on Mars appropriately, right? So like that planning in detail is there. And you said it so succinct. I saw a demo of Rohirrim's platform, and they are taking planning and proposal responding to a whole new level. If you haven't checked that one out, it seems like it's an amazing upcoming platform. And I think it was ChatGPT who said something like, we now have given the masses the ability to build their dream, because you don't need the developer. You don't need to go raise $100,000 to build your MVP. You like Figma Make just launched recently. And it's just like you go in, you build the Figma screen, and you say, let's make that app now. So I think that's even going to be pushing Cursor and some of these other tools out of the way. So, I mean, it's just so fascinating on so many levels. So I think you're spot on with some of the things you've been geeking out and learning about in the past little bit, for sure.
And then, just to address the complexity and the just tidal wave, like you can't possibly keep up with all these innovations. It's so much and so broad. So I think the way to approach all this stuff is just to kind of get above it all, develop these basic skills for acquiring new, technologies or new platforms or new, whatever the new du jour thing is. Go experiment with it quickly. I don't think you have time to go super deep, but hey, AI can do that for you. And then realize that, hey, a lot of this stuff's going to be 80% solution, right? So like that Figma, right? We've all seen these code builder tools, and they get better and better and better and better. They're never going to just replace your software team. You're going to need a really good 1 or 2 software people to review that for you, or a designer.
Yep.
80%, you're going to have a mock-up at the end of the day, and that you can cut, like, I've seen things where you can cut and paste your favorite app and say, replace this red with blue.
That's right.
And then, this is a system for blah, blah, blah. And then, you can go and do a pretty good job in Figma, and then you can go tweak it out, and then you can say, okay, get me a bare bones. But then that 20% you still have to do, right?
Yeah, and it's just going to usher in my mind, I'm not worried about AI. It's going to change the job landscape for sure, but it's going to totally open a new Renaissance era. I have the utmost confidence in that happening. And like you said, you and me as leaders, we have to be a little bit of a jack of all trades. We have to know a little bit about business and this and that and marketing and all those things to help. But like, I feel like we were already at this level of specialization, and now AI is taking us even further down this specialization path. So instead of needing a team of 5 devs, maybe we need a team of 10, because they're specialized in so many different places that are experts in AI. So I don't know, it's just some working theories. We got to see how it all gets solved on that front. But I'm curious, like, if you move into the leveraging section of this, because I think that's what we're tipping into here, is like, you and me as leaders, we've learned these cool things. We just saw the announcement on Figma Make and some other things with MCP that's changing day to day rapidly. How do you and I take that and leverage what we've learned and put that knowledge to work with the teams that we are leading?
Yeah, 2 examples. Okay, so one in coding, and then we'll talk about proposal generating for consulting. Okay, so one so I don't know if you're familiar with Supabase. So Supabase is the open source clone of Firebase, the GCP Google Compute Cloud, as a mobile developer, right? So I go in, and every couple of years I do a project just to see, soup to nuts, I'm going to bang it out this weekend.
Yeah.
I get pretty far, and then I hit a wall, and then it's another year before I'm done, right? So this is one of those, like, okay, it's time again. So Supabase has an MCP endpoint. So you can literally go have a Supabase running on Amazon, 1 click install. I did this with one of my dev teams that I'm working with. I said, hey, I know y'all looking at Auth and the cost of that with Cognito versus Okta, OAuth kinds of things for SSO. Why don't you look at Supabase? Tell me how easy it is, and that's essentially free because you're running on your own infrastructure. And then so the software developer took it, and she just banged it out in like an hour on the weekend, and then was able to quickly evaluate. Okay, so if it's that easy to spin up Supabase, you get database services, you get Auth, you get secrets management, you get all the things you'd want quickly to spin up. The first iteration certainly of a basic business app, right? And there's a bunch of those. That's not what I like doing. I don't like going in SQL and like banging out like design table, blah, blah, blah. I could do that and have done it in the past. I really, really don't want to do. I don't enjoy that. I know what it's supposed to look like at the end. I know what the business objects are. I know how they relate, right? If I could just talk to, do a little prompt, which is what I would do as a senior leader, I would go off and say, hey guys, this is my vision for the product. This is what we need. I thought about these details. I'm not sure about these other ones. Can you go figure it out?
Yeah.
And then just, come back, show it to me when you're done. Okay, now it's an AI assistant where I can just do it and just done. Yeah. And then what kind of leverage is that? That's amazing leverage. And then you can do the same thing on the front end, right? So now I got the Supabase, infrastructure, Firebase infrastructure, essentially. Now I can do the same thing on the design side. Like I kind of know, like you should not hire me to pick out your drapes.
That's right.
I'm not that
Same
kind of
here.
designer, right? Like these are ugly old, I got to do something. But I know I can go, what do you do when you go to a marketing firm or design firm? They go, hey, do you have any other apps or websites that you like?
Yep.
You say, well, I like LinkedIn, the way they do this, and I like Reddit, the way they do that, and if you can mash that up, and I hate red, and I like purple.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is now going to get leveraged into this new Figma Make and things like it, where he just kind of goes, bloop, and
And it's that extra thing too. Like I worked with one client and we agreed on this is what we kind of want to build. I went and did the planning in a deep research, and part of the next level of planning I did was I said, give me the RAID prompts. RAIDE I think is that new automatic coding engine.
It'll change next month, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'll change next month. But
yeah.
I propped a couple prompts in there and it went off and built the first thing. I double checked it. I sent the second prompt in and it built the second piece. I mean, it's just so powerful and fascinating for sure.
Get off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Was there a second one you wanted to talk through?
Yeah. And then, so another thing that I did, so everybody's, we're in the consulting business. So, a big part of it is go talk to some people, email back and forth a little bit. And then, we all have voice recorder, note taker, it's like a whole, constellation of these things.
Right.
But they end up with the transcript and maybe some summary points. So so I went down the rabbit hole of, how quickly could I generate a proposal, like a 5-page, well thought out proposal. So I had a lunch meeting with a fella that somebody brought me into, smallish business, $5 million a year kind of business, services. Well, it's think manufacturing kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they need to do a technology refresh from an Access database. They're running their shop floor on an Access database with a guy who checked out a while ago. And, they're kind of going, we need to fix this. And so I went home and I said, okay, I know what the solution is because I've been doing this forever. I really don't want to write another term paper. That's why I got into software in the first place. So let's see what I can do with some of these tools. Okay, so I set a tool off. I said, go research this company. It's this much money. They have these existing requirements. The CEO is really concerned with this, and they have they want to integrate with Salesforce. They think they want like NetSuite for financials, but they're not sure. Can you go off and do a deep research like Perplexity, right? Can you go off and do a deep research on the web, go figure it out, and give me alternatives, prices, timelines, estimates for the job, and make a proposal that's 5 pages in the format of my company's standard template output, and it's on G Drive, Google Drive. And then I thought, Hail Mary, let's see what happens.
Right?
Holy hell, it did a really good job, right? And I'm sure I'm going to have, and so what's the power of that as leverage? If I can go have a lunch meeting, and then have that level of meaningful, deep research that's probably pretty accurate, but you got to be careful, right? Because there's still some things.
But even if you ask and record the lunch conversation and you take the transcript and you feed that in, even if it gets at 80 or 90% and you only have to spend a half an hour, it saved you countless hours, and I think builds an amazing rapport with the client, right? So
exactly,
that's such an amazing use case.
And then it writes the paper and structures it and has a thought process. And that's the part that is mentally taxing for me. Like, that would take me an hour or two and I'd be drained and I really wouldn't have time to go do something else. I could kick off the AI assistant. I know what it needs to look like at the end. I know what the right answer is. As an experienced executive, I just don't want to like cut and paste a bunch of stuff and go check some numbers, right? So kick it off, let it go, and then let it come back with the final,
Yeah, I mean, as a huge science fiction guy, I'm just seeing all these books that I've read throughout the years coming to life now, and I'm just like, I don't even want to go to sleep because I just want to play with these things all day long, 24 hours a day. I mean, you and I are leaders, as we've talked about here. Like, let's round things out for the sort of last segment in my mind, the leadership piece. Like, how are you sharing this knowledge? I really appreciate you coming on the show. I hope lots of people have learned some tips and tricks from Todd here. But how are you leveraging this in the teams that you're leading and helping others grow into this space? Because nobody has the AI in their resume, and everybody needs to have it as soon as possible.
Right. Well, and then so us, I've got patents, from AI in 2012, for natural language processing. Okay, so not nobody, but I hired a team of PhDs to get that done.
Right. But I guess it's these new tools. Like, nobody's played with them all. Nobody knows exactly the right way to do it. Are you a prompt engineer yet? Those kinds of newer cutting edge things to leverage it. We know the working theories, right? So, but yeah. Sure.
Well, and then so very, very great question. How do we, as technology leaders, help our counterparts in the C-suite to figure this out, right? So we know CFOs that go in and they want to go analyze, a board. You got to create those board slides every month, and it's always the same. And then it's a column of numbers, and then you just poke my eyes out. I don't want to create another bar chart or dashboard. Or like in marketing, it's like, hey man, I do coaching. And I have a call, and then I want to have my note taker upload to the Google Drive, and I want my thingy to pick it up, and then I want to summarize some notes. I want to create a draft email for me. So those are like these tiny automated workflows. It's not the software engineering department, in a major SaaS company. It's the IT department in these big companies that we're really able to affect. It's like all these little automations, all this business automation, Power Automate type tasks. They need a little bit of software expertise, but more than zero, right? And then so you talk to these marketing people, you talk to these sales people, you talk to these finance people. They know what they want to do. They kind of think AI could do it because they saw a YouTube video of demo, which are kind of
everywhere.
Some of them are contrived, and some of them are real, So, but everybody's got this concept, but they need a little help, and they don't understand. Like, they just need help figuring out the tools, getting the tools set up, seeing the art of the possible. And I think we're less than 6 months away from this huge explosion where all of us that were in AI were, information theory, graduate degree, hardcore, like, I don't want to talk to marketing people. So we have to get that knowledge out. And that's where like guys like us, right? We're seasoned executives that are entrepreneurs as well. So you need people like us to go, okay, I understand this deep tech. It doesn't have to be that, right? And I also understand your marketing needs. And there's a little bit of help we can give you, help you set up your tools. And then how do you productize that, right? How do you institutionalize? How do you set up an MCP server? What the hell is that? And so a little bit of help and a little bit of understanding, a little bit of it's almost like a pitch of we need to go evangelize what this stuff can do. So you need a tech buddy, you need a couple people who've been there, done that, and I think it's a huge unlock for any organization to get a little bit of strategic technology help.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's so inspiring to see how you're creating this rippling effect in what leadership is doing and what it looks like as we're driving this forward in the community. This has been absolutely awesome, Todd, to hang out with you. Any other quick anecdotes? I wanted to throw like a couple of rapid fire questions at you, but any other things you want to make sure you get out there? It's going to be changed by time between now and when this podcast actually launches, but I'm excited to get some stuff out there.
I think everybody, so Bill Gates was famous for back in the day. He would take magazines and books and pile them up for a year, and then one weekend a year or a week, I can't remember, he would go on a sailboat somewhere and then geek out, like, nobody come bother me. I'm going to go catch up on technology, right? So obviously you can't wait a year and you can't spend a week. So everything's compressed now, but I think everybody's got to take snack breaks to go learn, sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
Right. So go take some of these things. They are bleeding edge. You will get cut when you're playing with them. That's okay.
Yep.
Right. Figure out what the art of possible is, and then just get conceptually up to speed with these things. I don't think you spend a week. I don't think you spend more than a couple days every month, but I do think you need to spend half a weekend day just futzing with it, just to see where it is, right? And then go make some friends like us. And
That's right.
We'll help you. We'll
That's
help you figure it out and get some help. Get a coach to help you up that technology learning curve.
And that's exactly why we're putting this podcast together. AI with Bry is going to have an amazing community and some ways to pour in. If you want some one-on-one stuff, I know both Todd and I would love to speak with you and help you unlock AI. Some rapid fire questions for you real quick as we close this out. What is your number one favorite AI tool right now?
I've spent a unreasonable amount of time with Claude Desktop.
Okay.
In the last week.
And 5 years in the future, AI, optimistic or cautious?
It's going to be everywhere. Somewhere short of we need to harness the power of the sun with a Dyson sphere to power all the AI, which is what some of these people are talking about. I think I love the power curve, the S curve of Gartner, the hype cycle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's here to stay. It's been here a long time. We're going to do a little better. We're definitely over the top, and we're about to head in the trough of disillusionment.
Yeah. And
then we're going to come rapidly back up the other side and figure out what this stuff's good for. So I think that's the point where I'm going to lead it, as a technology leader. I've already gone through that trough of disillusionment, and now I'm excited again. Expect the world to kind of follow. So it's not going to be AI's magic going to solve everything. It's going to be a nice tool with limitations and practical applications. Let's figure it out.
I love it. All right, last one. What is one thing that humans will always do better than AI?
Well, so I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So this new generation, I call them the iPhone generation. My sons are 20 and 22, right? So they were born. One of them was born just before the iPhone came out, and one of them was born just after. That whole generation of kids grew up with a tablet in their hand at the Mexican restaurant because mom and dad are too busy to deal. So they are going to have a huge backlash. Like right now, you're seeing video game addiction, online addiction. They don't get out. Psychologists are scared that they don't form deep, meaningful relationships. They go thin and broad. But they are so connected to each other all day, every day. It's ridiculous. So I think what people do is form deep, meaningful relationships. They take the time to understand things. They understand emotional intelligence, and it's the why are we doing this, right?
Yeah.
So AI can never do the why or the philosophy behind things. And I think the next generation alpha behind the iPad generation is going to rebel hardcore against. So you talk to my 20-year-old, he said, "Man, Dad, my kids are not going to have a phone
right
until that was bad." So I think there's going to be, it's a pendulum. Everything's a pendulum, so we went too far to the online addiction side. Now we're going to go way back over to hey, let's go hiking and start a fire. No signal, but there's a happy middle. So
I'm looking forward to taking the kids camping this weekend, and I have a 1-year-old, so I'm way behind you on the kid front, and I don't know if she'll actually learn to use a keyboard. You know what I mean? Like, she may be of the generation where, maybe the iPad a little bit, but she may just talk to it forever,
right?
Or visually symbol to it. I don't know. So it's so fascinating.
Well, I talked to my 22-year-old and I said, "You're the last generation that's going to have to learn how to drive."
Yeah.
Because your kids probably won't. And I think it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But she'll still have friends. I don't know what computing is going to look like, or augmentation, or any of this stuff. She'll still have to have friends. She'll still have to meet a guy, right?
Yep.
At some point, form a family. None of that stuff's online, right?
Right.
And then hopefully we use AI to free us to have more time to go camping and light a marshmallow on fire.
That's right.
And impress the kids, right?
I certainly hope so as well. Todd, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved hearing your take on learning, leveraging, and leading with AI. If you're listening and enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, follow the podcast, please leave us a review, or share it with somebody who wants to grow with AI. You can find more about Todd at talesfromtheskylounge.com, and I'll link everything we mentioned in today's show in the notes. And thanks again, Todd, for being here.
Yeah, always fun, Brian. You know, we'll come back in like 6 months and everything will be completely different.
I would love to.
But it'll be all the same.
Yeah. So, again, I'm Brian Denstead, and this is AI with Bri. We'll see you next week. And remember, for the future doesn't wait. Learn, leverage, and lead with AI. This episode of AI with Bri was hosted and produced by me, Brian Denstead. Produced with help from Nancy Velasquez and Kelly Lopez. Video by Leo Moralina. Sound AI generated. Find us on all platforms at AI with Bri and visit ai.bri.net for more. Learn, leverage, lead.